Sports Clash Radio with your hosts, Chad and JC Martin.
Welcome everybody to another edition of Sports Clash Radio. I'm your host, Chad Martin, along with JC Martin, and we are talking Week 8 college football.
Yes,
another
sir.
wild, crazy, unpredictable week in college football. I mean, we have upsets again by teams where you're going, you think that they're on a roll and they've got their football legs underneath them, and then somebody comes along and just chops them right out. Don't know what to think about North Carolina at the moment. The way they're playing and stuff is just, they knocked off another ranked team. It's crazy what's going on. We got the Heisman Watch, all these good things to talk about, but let's revisit a few of the games from Week 7 real quick. And we'll start with the upsets because there were a couple that we just talked about. UNC beating Miami 20-13. Miami was a team we thought a couple of weeks ago might actually have turned it around, even though we were hesitant at the beginning of the year. Their play looked like, hey, this team might actually have something, and then
Right, before last week, or before 2 weeks ago, Miami was 4-0. Of course, then you had North Carolina beat Florida State, and then the following week Florida State beat Miami, and then this week North Carolina then turned around and beat Miami as well.
exactly.
So the ACC has gotten really interesting. Of course, I think the Louisville-Clemson game several weeks ago turned out way better than anyone thought it was going to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I kind of thought that Louisville didn't have the ability to keep up with Clemson, but Louisville still had a chance to win it. So I'm really interested to see how this ACC shakes out. I mean, it looks like it's Clemson's to lose.
Well, they almost gave it up Saturday too, because
Right,
they had to pull it off in overtime against NC State, who hasn't played bad football at all this year, by the way.
Right, they only have the one loss, but close
even-
only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Exactly, and they really lost it at the end. They had a chance to beat Clemson right
Right.
there at the end of that football
They
game.
just missed the field goal.
That's so sad too, but Clemson saw its hopes remain alive because of that miss. You had unranked Syracuse beat number 17 Virginia Tech, who had been steamrolling right along.
Right,
And
that's one I hate, because the only other loss that Virginia Tech had to this point was against Tennessee, who looks way better than I ever gave them credit for. Granted, they have been beaten pretty soundly the last 2 weeks by A&M and Alabama, but Alabama's the best team in the country, and they're going to do that to most
Exactly.
teams they play.
And Alabama does have A&M coming up this weekend.
Right,
And that's
and,
going to be huge.
and Syracuse is just not that good.
That's right.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what it is. Syracuse isn't that good, but they beat down Virginia Tech.
Any given Saturday, right? And that's what happened. Arkansas beats Ole Miss this weekend, 34-30. That streak of Arkansas beating Ole Miss is now at 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So, and that one was ugly. I think Chad Kelly was off. He looked pretty off. The team
And
looked
his
off.
receivers let him down.
Yeah, they did do that
They
too.
dropped a lot
Dropped
of catches.
So that whole unit really, and I don't think it's fair to say one person or the other, but that whole unit just looked off the entire game. So, and that was your big upsets. But when I'm really looking at these scores from this weekend, we talked about Louisville. They only beat Duke 24-14. I really thought that would have been a huge blowout. Let's see what else. I'm looking down through here, and we talked about Alabama just completely blowing the doors off Tennessee. I mean, that wasn't even as close as the 49-10 score indicated.
I thought
honestly.
for a moment that Indiana was actually going to sneak in that upset over Nebraska.
I did too. That was pretty close. It was 27-22 at the end of that. By the end of that game, you had FSU barely beats Wake Forest. You see an 11-point win, you go barely, but 17-6, you're expecting FSU to beat Wake Forest. But Wake Forest is a quiet 5-2 also.
Right.
So you can only beat the teams that are in front of
But,
you, and Wake
you know,
Forest has done that, except for some of these high-powered teams.
I didn't watch the full game, but I watched pieces of it, and even though it was that close, even though the score was close, it never felt like Wake Forest had a shot.
Yeah, but I think it's another case of FSU just not putting their
They
Not
played
putting
down
their
to the
best
level
team.
of their competition.
exactly, and they really did in this game. Let's see who else. We had Syracuse beat Virginia Tech. I think we talked about that, but I mean,
Florida destroyed Missouri, but Missouri's terrible. They should get destroyed by most teams they played.
Utah skated by Oregon State. 19-14. Houston barely beat Tulsa
Which that one
by a
was shocking.
touchdown. That was really shocking, and looked like Houston could have gotten upset there. But then you had Ohio State. Ohio State and Wisconsin game was a lot.
That
fun
was
to watch.
phenomenal.
My
That game
of
was
the week.
everything I wanted it to be.
It was amazing, and Wisconsin had that game. It was theirs
Right.
to lose. They did. I mean,
They
they
lost
kind
it.
of gave it away. They lost it because I really enjoyed it. I was like, man, look at this. They are about to, and the swing again at the end of it. You know, they had that game won before it went into overtime, and that's
Exactly.
where. And then after that, all the steam and air was let out of Wisconsin once they got into overtime. And that was it last week, man. Just another great weekend of college football. I enjoy seeing. Oh, and one game. Usually when we talk about these games, we're talking top 25. But I do want to mention a former top 25 team, Michigan State. My God, they got absolutely destroyed again this weekend. It's unbelievable what has happened to that football program. But and I don't know where the solution is to turn it around. But they just got hammered, and I don't even know what to say about that other than I couldn't believe this. It's not a game that I even remotely wanted to watch or anything because I thought, well, that was one that they'll win easy, but
Right.
no, they didn't. Let's get into our pick 'em for this week, though. I want to get past this last week because it was a depressing week all the way around. My Texas Longhorns did pull it out, though, so I was happy about that.
Against a one-win Iowa State team.
Doesn't even matter to me at this point.
Right, a
Really
win's a
doesn't
win's a
matter.
win.
For Texas, a win is definitely a win at this point. You'd have thought they have won the national championship the way they celebrated afterwards, but you know, as bad as they've been.
Considering they haven't tasted victory since week 2 of the season, I imagine that was a big one for them.
Yeah, it really was. Let's start out Thursday night. You got BYU against Boise State.
Give me the Broncos,
Take Boise State.
but not
man.
Bronco Mendenhall. The head
Yeah,
coach of
there
BYU.
you go.
I want the Boise State Broncos.
All right, NC State and Louisville.
Louisville's at home, man. Don't go against the power of Bobby Petrino.
I would agree. Wisconsin, number 10 at Iowa.
You know, Iowa's a pretty solid football program. They've really been back on the upswing the last few years,
I
but
still gotta go
it's
Wisconsin,
it's
man.
Wisconsin.
You have UNC, who is now ranked 5-2. They're number 22 in the country
They're back
right
to
now.
where they started the season.
Exactly.
Number 22.
Against UVA. UNC doesn't run away with that. Something is very, very wrong.
Well, they may not run away with it, but the Tar Heels will find a way to win it.
All right, let's talk about this Texas A&M Alabama game. I think right now Alabama is like a 17-point favorite in this game. 17 points.
All right, in Tuscaloosa.
So, do we believe that Texas A&M is for real? They have been playing lights out. They've been playing solid. They have not been playing down to their competition.
I don't like the idea that if A&M loses this, that they're not for real. Because they're playing
Yeah,
out
let me
of
say
their
this.
minds.
Are they a real threat to Alabama?
Well, I don't think anyone's a real threat to Alabama, but I think Alabama can take people like
Alabama usually has that one loss a season that kind of grabs them out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So Texas A&M do that. I just don't see them do that in Tuscaloosa, though.
It's a home game for Alabama. Of course, the Alabama fans know what this game is going to be because it's number 1 versus number 6. They know how much it means, especially for the West, because basically the winner wins the West.
That's right.
Unless, something crazy happens. I think Alabama's got more speed. They've got the bigger athletes. They've got the stronger athletes. I think it's going to be 60 minutes and it could be a close game for a while.
Yeah.
But I think in the fourth quarter, Alabama does what they do best, and they pull away after their opposition's beat down.
Yeah, there you go. So
I don't see Alabama losing this game.
I don't either. I tried to talk myself into something, hyping it, but I just don't see it. Michigan, Illinois,
Give me the khakis. John
you
Harbaugh,
go.
let's go.
Purdue, Nebraska.
Purdue's a train wreck at this point.
Yep.
So it's all Cornhuskers.
All right, here's an interesting one, though. You got TCU and West Virginia. West Virginia comes in ranked number 12. They're undefeated so far. TCU, who knows what they are at this point. But still, you never can tell when that offense can get on track. I don't think it's against West Virginia, though.
Give me former Northwest Community College standout Justin Crawford and the West Virginia Mountaineers.
There you go. EMU, the Emus.
Got Eastern Michigan taking on Western Michigan.
Which side of Michigan wins?
This is how the West was won.
There you go.
All the way, Western Michigan.
Sounds great.
They're undefeated, and Eastern Michigan has a nice 5-2 record. But I think this is another one of those moments where it's just you got to go with the Broncos.
I'm a fan of Westworld, and I'm going to continue that theme. I'll stay out in the West. They will definitely quick six those guys. All right, what about Memphis? 5-1 against number 24 Navy. Man, it's been so long since you hear about any kind of military football team being ranked.
Well,
pretty nice.
Navy was good last year with Keenan Reynolds.
Yeah, they were.
They actually beat Memphis when Memphis was ranked coming off of that upset of Ole Miss last year.
That is true.
But I think this is the year that Memphis returns the favor, and Memphis is going to pull off the upset here against Navy at Navy.
Wow, so you're going with Memphis, huh?
I'm going with the Tigres.
I hear you. I think we'll go with Navy at home. I want to see those guys play and play well.
I mean, Navy beat Houston, but Navy's the only competition that Houston has outside of Memphis after that Oklahoma game.
Exactly. What about number 19 Utah against UCLA?
UCLA has been everything we didn't think they would be this year. Like everyone had such high expectations for UCLA, and they have been horrible to watch. UCLA and Stanford have provided some of the worst football I've watched this season, so I'm going with the Utes.
All right, what about number 17 Arkansas, number 21 Auburn?
I mean, Auburn's 4-2, and that's cute and all, but I think this Arkansas team has just built up too much momentum to be derailed by the rotating door of quarterbacks that Auburn throws out.
There you go. All right, you got Oregon State against Washington. Oh, I don't know why I even mentioned it. Washington.
Right. Give me Jake Browning.
You got Houston, number 11 at SMU. It's got to be Houston.
You know, it's weird because Houston's 6-1, but I feel far less confident about this game, even though they're playing a 2-4 SMU team. But I'm still going with Houston.
There
you have to.
You got Ohio State, Penn State. The Ohio State.
I liked James Franklin a lot when he was coaching at Vanderbilt. He really he gave new life into that Vanderbilt program, and then he left to go to Penn State. But man, he really hasn't gotten it on track since he's been with the Nittany Lions. And it's kind of hard to go against any team that Urban Meyer is head coaching. So
yeah, exactly.
Ohio State.
All right, we got OU against Texas Tech. OU. Texas Tech, I'm not sure what team will ever show up, what offense will show up. So
Cliff Kingsbury really has to find an identity with that Texas Tech team. Until he does, the one thing that you can always count on in a Big 12 game or the Big 12 conference as a whole year in and year out is Bob Stoops and Bob Stoops' team being towards the top of that conference. So it's hard to pick against OU.
There you go. And finally, we've got, that's a late game, 8 o'clock. We talked about this on our Fins Up podcast. Ole Miss, number 23 against LSU, number 25.
You got a hungry, angry LSU team at home in Death Valley on a Saturday night. There's no more hostile environment in college football than that. LSU knocks off Ole Miss.
There you go. I'm going Ole Miss. I think they're tired of people telling them what they could have done and what they should have done this year. And when they let the FSU game go, they let the Alabama game go, and they could have won both those games in the tragedy at Arkansas last week. I think they're going to go to Death Valley with a purpose, and I think that they're going to go in and try and pick up a win there. It'd be awesome to see, but I don't know. Maybe that's wishful thinking on my part.
It'd be fun to see and fun to discuss, but I do think that's wishful thinking on your part.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh, well. All right, guys. That's pretty much it for us this week. That's our pick-em. No, it ain't, because there's one thing I do want to talk about.
What's up?
Heisman Watch.
Okay.
We got to talk Heisman Watch. And it's something that it really hasn't changed much at all from last week. You still got Lamar Jackson rolling strong. Deshaun Watson, J.T. Barrett, Jake Browning. Jabril Peppers is still making a case for himself on defense. and then you got Donnell Pumphrey, Myles Garrett, Greg Ward Jr. This sound about right to you? How you would look at it? The thing is when you go from the difference from Lamar Jackson and everybody else right now is so great.
Right, but the question really comes down. I mean, as far as the Heisman discussion goes, then yes, Lamar Jackson all the way because he's blowing all the competition out of the water with his stats. But looking at like who is legitimately the best player on this list, I don't think it's Lamar Jackson.
Who do you think it is?
I think I think Lamar Jackson's numbers are inflated by the scheme that he plays.
Yeah.
You could say that about Marcus Mariota when he was in Oregon. Of course, he was actually a really good player. But you could say the same thing about RG3 when he was at Baylor. He's more of a product of that system that he was operating within. I like Deshaun Watson and I like JT Barrett a lot. I haven't watched enough of Jay Browning in this Washington team to even pretend like I know what I'm talking about with him.
Yeah.
But until Deshaun Watson or JT Barrett, they're statistically just play out of their minds. I mean, it's Lamar Jackson's trophy to lose. The only thing that could hurt Lamar Jackson right now is if his squad loses another game.
I think so too, because they already had that one bad one.
Right. They lost to Clemson.
Yeah.
But if you take another...
But that's kind of the thing too. I mean, you lost to Clemson, which is Deshaun Watson's team. And I think if they take another loss, like you said, and then Clemson goes on and keeps playing like they're playing.
Right. If Clemson ends the season undefeated, then I think Deshaun Watson takes, it could go either way between Deshaun Watson and JT Barrett. Because I think Ohio State, the only chance they have to lose is that game against Michigan coming up in a few weeks, which will be
awesome.
It should be a phenomenal game. Number 2 versus number 3. But now we could see a circumstance where, let's say Michigan beats Ohio State.
Yeah.
So JT Barrett and Ohio State have a loss. But then Deshaun Watson and Clemson, like we said, they almost lost to NC State.
Yep.
Well, what if they do take a loss somewhere in the next 4, 5, 6 weeks? They take a loss, Louisville wins out. I'm guessing they end up beating the team that beat Clemson in the process. Yeah. Well, then if you have 3 guys that are all on one-loss squads, you got to take the guy with the best numbers at that point, which that would give the trophy back to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. And we talk about, the Heisman is pretty much an offensive award and specifically a quarterback award.
Right.
I mean, it really is.
You really have to do something special. I mean, Jabril Peppers has a potential. Who knows? We could see in that game against Ohio State. If he really makes the plays and stands out, Jabril Peppers could put himself in this discussion.
Well, he really could. And I think it's something that when you see a defensive guy who's standing out like he is, who jumps up on this list and saying, hey, look at me. And like you said, if he goes in there in that game against Ohio State and puts on a show, I think you will see him vault in those spaces.
I mean, and he could be the first defensive player to win the award since Charles Woodson.
Yeah.
Charles Woodson also played in Michigan, so is there something in the water in Michigan?
There must
that
be.
They have these special defensive players that are contending for the Heisman Trophy?
They must, because they expected Peyton Manning was surefire when everybody thought was going to win that award that year until he came on.
Right, and then you have Charles Woodson. He's coming in. He can play corner, he can play safety. They played him on offense, they played him at kick returner.
Yep.
And Jabril Peppers, we're seeing the same, except he's going linebacker and safety instead of corner and safety. But linebacker, safety, kick returner, punt returner. Jabril Peppers is a special athlete.
Oh, he is. He's a difference maker. I would love to see a defensive guy honestly take this award. The problem with Heisman voting is you get these guys who get to vote on the Heisman, and they get tunnel vision with the player.
Right.
And I think that's still, even though I understand why they're all in for Lamar Jackson right now.
Right, because he's just putting up astronomical numbers.
He really is. But I think that is the one spot where the Heisman Trophy voting I do not like, because these guys get tunnel vision and they go, oh yeah, Lamar Jackson's got to be him, and let's not really give as much love as we can to these other guys here.
It's one of those crazy things with college football, because the numbers are always more impressive in college football than they are in pro football.
That's right.
Just because of the level of competition that you're going against on a week-in, week-out basis. But Lamar Jackson already has 15 passing touchdowns and 15 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. He's a machine.
Special.
There's no doubt. He's a machine, so we'll see what happens with it. Well, guys, we got to get out of here. We appreciate you tuning in to another edition of Sports Clash Radio. talking college football. We love talking college football. A lot of stuff to go this week. Got a few more shows to do. We got a wrestling show we still got to talk about. We've got NFL we got to talk about. Baseball playoffs are here in full swing and already have some craziness going on.
Right, we're well into the league championship series. So
man, it's kind of nuts.
We still have to discuss the whole divisional series as well.
So we will try to get one of those knocked out also, for sure, because I know there's a lot of baseball fans out there, and we'll talk to you guys about that. So we got to get out of here. Follow us on our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/SportsClash. Follow us on Twitter, SportsClashRad. Follow us on Facebook, Sports Clash Radio. If you're on YouTube watching this and you're not listening to it, then by all means, leave a comment below. Tell us what you think about our picks each week.
Like the video. Subscribe to the channel.
Share the videos. Tell your friends about the videos. We've had a lot of people that are starting to do that now. We got involved, like especially with our wrestling one last week. We were naming our top 5 Mount Rushmore, and we had our special talk about our pro wrestling stories, which we will do quite often. I think I had a lot of fun talking about pro wrestling stories.
Time flew by with that.
It really did. So anytime you have a comment about something we're doing, please leave your comments. Let us know how we're doing, what you think, what you'd like for us to do. We'll try to get it on the show. Guys, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.